Skin's a bit weird, isn't it? I mean, we've all got it, or at least I hope so. But there are some areas of skin that have weird names. For instance, this bit on the elbow, that's called a weenus. Hi everyone, I'm Frankie and welcome to the channel. This week I'm going to be looking at painting Caucasian skin. As most of my subscribers probably know, the most skin that I paint is normally green. And I'm not really that familiar with painting humans because I'm always painting orcs or robots or humans in suits where you can't really see their skin and stuff. So yeah, I wanted to practice on human flesh, in particular Caucasian skin, and I do want to practice other colours of skin, such as I want to go with some black skin next because I've got a model that I think is just going to work for it. So yeah, I might do some more videos on different types of skin because why not? It's interesting to diversify your colour palette on people's faces. But yeah, Caucasian skin is something that I have not felt very comfortable doing. I always feel like it comes out looking pretty weak, so I wanted to improve that. Sit down, take some time on a model that is mostly skin and really get stuck in trying to learn and develop my skills in that area. So recently I posted a video about the Bat Packer, which is a miniature by Bold Miniatures. It was part of a Kickstarter that had 3 minis and this is the second one. This sculpt is called Mindless and I think it's probably the most humorous of the sculpts, as it is a man with a little alien in his head controlling his brain. As you can see, there was a lot of flesh on this model, so it's a great opportunity to practice actually painting some skin. So of course it naturally makes sense to utilise the sculpt and practice my flesh tones and stuff. I only actually used 4 colours when I was painting this skin, and they were Bugman's Glow, Caucasian Flesh Tone, Kislev Flesh and Ushabti Bone. As with the flesh that I've done on orcs and my squigs, the way to success with this is mixing the paints and doing loads of layers. Something I felt would be quite important for this paint job if I wanted to get it looking quite realistic was a zenithal highlight. This would allow me to understand where the light should fall. To do this, I simply use the black primer to spray the whole miniature and then use a white primer from above just to create a light source. After taking a few reference pictures that I could then later look at to understand where the light falls, I decided to coat the whole of the model, or at least the flesh areas anyway, in Bugman's Glow. I did a couple of coats of this just to make sure that I had a really nice even layer on the bottom. Next up was to go around picking out the muscle groups using a mix of around 70% Bugman's Glow to 30% Caucasian Flesh Tone. We're doing such a strong Bugman's Glow mix so that there's a very little difference between the first layer and the second layer, so that we get a nice even blend without actually using any blending techniques, because I'm not overly fond of them, I just prefer to do layering. After that we're going for more of a 50-50 mix between the 2 paints, and we're going to repeat what we just did, but we're going to apply slightly less paint. Now, there's something to bear in mind when you're painting muscle groups and stuff, and that is to not just paint the middle of the muscle. It can be tempting to just concentrate the highlights toward the middle because that is often the most raised part of the muscle, but it actually makes more sense and looks better if you concentrate the highlights near the top of the muscle, even if it starts to dip in a little bit and you think it should cast a shadow. Highlighting these bits where muscles join really helps tie the whole paint scheme together, so I would strongly suggest aiming for the tops of muscles rather than the centre. Otherwise you're creating weird little islands all over your model which don't actually fit together in a realistic way. As you can probably imagine, the next step that I took was to do a 70-30 mix again, but this time inversed, so it was 70% Caucasian Flesh Tone and 30% Bugman's Glow. Remember, each time that we're doing a new layer you want to try and cover a smaller portion of the model as to start concentrating your highlights. Now what I basically did for the rest of the model was follow the steps that I've already done, but transitioning between the paints that I mentioned earlier in that order. So the next thing we're going to be mixing is the Caucasian Flesh Tone and the Kislev Flesh. We're going to be doing a 70-30%, 50-50, 30-70 again, and then we'll do the same with the Kislev Flesh into Ushabti bone. And the Ushabti bone was used very sparingly. I basically only used it on the face, where I wanted to be directing the viewer's eyes towards, because that was kind of the centerpiece of the model. I wanted to make that area pop rather than like the lower pec or something. It didn't make much sense to do it down there. You want to be drawing the eyes towards the face, as that is the focal point of the miniature. Using this technique where you're layering up means you don't have to use washes, which is always good because it means it's easier to rescue the paint job. The thing with washes is it can completely change the colour underneath, and then it kind of becomes impossible to replicate, because once you've applied a layer of Bugman's Glow and then put a wash on it, applying another layer of Bugman's Glow to fix something, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb because it doesn't have that tint that the wash provided. Whereas here, you can just use the paints you've already used. There's not something that has altered the colour of the paints, it is just the paint that you put on. So that's something you might want to bear in mind if you're doing display pieces or whatever, and you want to be able to correct any mistakes a bit more easily. Try to do away with the washes. Also, it forces you to understand shadows a bit more. You're not just relying on where the wash sits, you actually have to think about what areas you're leaving darker. So, did I achieve what I wanted to achieve? Do I think that I became better at painting Caucasian skin? Yes, I do. I am genuinely really proud of that miniature. I think it's probably one of the best paint jobs I've done. It's actually being put on my mantelpiece downstairs. It's not just staying in my office like all my other minis. This is actually something I'm considering like a display piece. So yeah, I am really happy with how the skin turned out. And I just love the sculpt. That little alien in the top is so funny. If you like this video and you want to see me do different types of skin in other painting videos, then please leave a comment down below, because it is something that I'd be interested in doing, but is it worth doing if no one really cares? Thank you for watching this video, and thanks for giving a like, please, and a subscribe if you're not already. If you subscribe, I'm sure you know how this works. You get my videos in your YouTube feed under your little subscriptions box, which means that you don't have to miss any videos that I post. If you do want to miss the videos, that's cool. Just don't watch them, I suppose. Check out the links in the description below if you want to see other ways of supporting the channel via Patreon, like t-shirts, or just going to my YouTube or going to my social media accounts. That would all be very helpful. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, I will see you later.